Hey, what's up, everybody? So before we get into this episode, I just wanted to take a moment and apologize to not only you, the listener, but to Alan and David, my guests that were on this episode. I had promised them that I was going to bring this episode on last Friday. And for you, my regular listeners, you guys know that I drop a new episode every Friday. And I live in Texas, and this past week we ended up getting hit with a snowstorm. And it snowed 2 days in 1 week, and it's unheard of in our state. We're used to over 100-degree weather, not under 30-degree weather. Definitely not snowy conditions. So with that said, we ended up having rolling power outages, lost water, all that stuff. So it was a crazy week. We made it through. I didn't have power from Sunday into Tuesday late afternoon. And then Wednesday morning, my water got shut off, and my water's been off since. The complex that I live in has busted pipes throughout the apartment complex. And even the people that do have water, they don't even have hot water. It's straight cold water. So it looks like I'm not going to have water till the earliest of maybe this midweek, if not by the weekend. So it looks like I'm going to be out of water for probably about a week and a half. But we're managing. We're getting through. I just wanted to have a little short message before this and let you guys know what's going on, why the episode didn't drop last Friday, and basically apologize to not only my listeners, but again, to Alan and David, and to all their fans that they may have told that the episode was dropping Friday and it didn't. That was my fault. Again, I was just kind of afraid to turn my computer on once we did get power because of the rolling power outages. Throughout those days that we didn't have power, the power would come on for like 2 or 3 minutes and then it would cut right back off. So I didn't want to chance turning my computer on and then that keep happening and then just actually mess up my computer and all my gear. So I just left it off and we kind of went through the weekend. And then coming into the weekend when I started trying to edit and all that stuff, stories came out of a guy trying to hack the host site that I actually use, which is Buzzsprout. And Buzzsprout's been battling this dude trying to get their site back online. I guess he's extorting them somehow, and he's using some type of thing to break the servers. So I'm not able to upload to Buzzsprout right now. So this episode is only on YouTube at the moment, but once I'm able to upload it to Buzzsprout, it will be on Buzzsprout, and then Buzzsprout then puts it out on all the other streaming services like Spotify, Deezer, and Podcast Addict, and so on. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you, and just know that regular schedule will be going back to normal this week. I'll be dropping episodes again every Friday, and again, apologies to everyone, especially Alan and David. But without further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode and check out their newest single. Actually, we're gonna play the newest single, and then I'll go into the actual episode. So until then, take care.
I haven't stepped outside for real for a long time. I haven't looked into a real set of eyes for the longest time. You fought me to free me, gave me some life to get real and get right again. But I haven't looked into a real set of eyes for the longest time. feelings faded from sight again. Fucking and falling apart
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Cognitive Discourse. Today I'm excited because I have some more guests. I've been booking like crazy, but this time it's my first time having two guests. So it's like a little man-meat sandwich that we're having here. But the great thing is it's an international man-meat sandwich. So I'm very excited to introduce these guys. I met them on the socials. I checked out their music and they were awesome. So you guys already got to hear the track in the opener, and it was by A. Charles and the Backroom Scene. The song was called Falling Apart Again. Alan is a songwriter-producer from the south of sunny England. He's the lead vocalist and guitarist of a UK alternative band called Bellevue Days. This is his second single, and it features vocals from the wonderful Backroom Scene, David Cervera. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. This is the voice of Alan.
Hi, Nat. I'm David. Nice to be here.
Now, David, did I say your last name correct? Because I am horrible with names.
You did. It was amazing.
You
Not many
pronounced
people
it.
get it right
You
first
pronounced
time.
it better than I ever have.
Yeah, I was like literally staring at that for 20 minutes. I'm like, I think that's how you say it. And I completely forgot to ask you before we started recording. So I'm glad that I nailed it.
Perfect, man. So many people stumble over it, or just don't even say my surname because they're too embarrassed because they don't know. They don't want to give it a go. But, yeah.
Your name before you was married is I prefer it. Grout.
You prefer? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I changed my surname to my wife's surname.
Oh, okay.
Which was,
Cool.
yeah. Because my surname before we were married was Grout, and it just didn't really have the same ring to it. But Alan preferred it, and a lot of my friends used to call me Grouty, which is obviously, it's a nice nickname. But so that's why my personal Instagram handle is still Grouty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm totally Gene Simmons in my family right now. Me and my wife, we say we're married, but we're not legally, so she still has her last name, and I have mine. So like trying to do anything with kids, and the kids have my last name, and hers is different. It really makes it kind of hard. But eventually, she said she's just gonna change it because we both kind of agreed that we're not gonna really. We didn't need a piece of paper to tell each other that we loved each other, So
No, that's fair
we're just
enough.
being
Yeah.
kind of.
I'm actually on the
with it.
same. I'm on the same boat as you there. Actually,
Oh, really?
I like. Yeah. Well, apart from my girlfriend really wants to get engaged, but I just don't. So I just say, oh, it's just a bit of paper.
Right? It's like, do we really need a paper to prove our love to each other? Like,
Yeah.
I wake up to you every day. I've seen you without makeup. I'm still here. We're good. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the music. So, A. Charles and the Backroom Scene. So A. Charles is your project, Alan?
Yeah.
And then the Backroom Scene is your project, correct, David?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So me being a musician myself too, I do a lot of my own songwriting. I've been in many bands over the years, and I just decided to kind of, do things on my own. There are some positive and negatives to it. The positive is I don't have to worry about dealing with the other egos. I get to kind of write what I want to write. The negative is kind of I don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of. So with this being the second single and you having Backroom Scene David involved, how did the writing process go for this song? Because I really like this song. It's super chill. I definitely this is my morning coffee song. I've been listening to it this whole week, and it's what I listen to when I drink my morning coffee. So what was kind of the process between you two getting together and working on this song?
So with this one, we had written one. We've written a few songs together actually in the past.
Yeah.
But with this one, I had like a voice memo of an idea which like I wanted to do with David. And then like, I pulled it up, and it actually I ended up writing something completely different, to be honest. But I had it. I wrote the song with like having David in mind of singing.
Oh, okay. Is David? Are you doing like backup vocals or like the harmonies and stuff, or you're doing the main vocal track?
So that's my vocals. So we basically, Alan came up with the track with the music track, and then obviously being in lockdown over here in the UK, and we also live quite far apart as well. So this was all done online. So I came up with some ideas, some lyrics, the melody, and then sent it back over to Alan, and then he sort of gave some notes on it, and then I wrote some more and recorded the main vocals, and then sent it over to him, and he produced it all. That's pretty much how it worked, I think.
Cool. Yeah, your voice is very soothing, and because it's soothing, I definitely was taken back when I heard the F-bomb dropped. I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. Fit's awesome, but
That is my first F bomb
oh really?
in any song I've written. That's been
I love it though. Yeah, that's I loved it. Like I like things like that when it sneaks up. I'm always a guy who likes music that has surprises. Like I tend to listen to a lot of a lot of music that has odd time signatures and just gets really weird. But I also like really mellow stuff. And so when I was listening to it, I was like, this is chill, man. I like this. And then when the F-bomb came, I was like, okay, all right. I wasn't expecting that, but I like that.
That's why it's become your breakfast song. Because it hits you first thing like coffee in the morning.
Yeah, it gets me ready to take on the world for sure.
Nice.
So with you guys doing this song together, is this going to be an album that you guys are going to be doing? Like, is Charles and the Backroom Scene going to have like a full EP or album coming out, or is it just like one song that was featured with having a guest?
I don't think
Charles is going to do.
I don't think I'll ever work with David again. No,
Yeah, it ended badly.
Yeah,
we're just
this
about
is
hanging
our
on by a
last
string
podcast.
right now.
Yeah, it's very awkward right now. No, I think definitely. I think we'll definitely do some more songs together.
Yeah. So there's no big
Awesome.
plans. We're both doing our own stuff, and I guess Alan's got Bellevue Days and his other music stuff, and I've only just started Backroom Scene last year, so it's kind of like a sort of spring last year where I sort of set it all up and got it going after quite a few years of not really knowing what to do with music. So so Backroom Scene's really early on anyway. But we will definitely write again. We've got plans to reverse what we did this time. So I'll start off writing some music, and then Alan hopefully will add some vocals and do it that way around. Maybe just experiment a bit.
Yeah, sometimes you just need time and age to kind of get you back on the horse again and try to. Well, we all make mistakes. I did another podcast a couple days ago where they had asked me that because I was in a bunch of bands and they asked me if I ever had an opportunity to get signed, and I had a few opportunities, and I'm kind of glad that I never did because I think I would have probably got screwed over just because I was so naive back in the day, and so taking a break and then coming back and being able to kind of come at it with a level head and it, I had other things that I was doing, so I was financially in a better place. I wasn't looking to just get signed, make cash, and be rich and famous. It was able to take a step back and really enjoy my songwriting and do things right. And I feel like that's where I'm at now too. I'm able to kind of do things right in the way I want to do them.
Yeah.
And I think
guess as well,
technology's allowed that too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it really. I mean, for us, that's basically how we've been able to do this with technology. And going back to what you're saying about being signed, and kind of like that's what many of us aspire to. And obviously, it could potentially lead to like full-time work and paid well, whatever. But I guess you do lose the control. You do lose sort of like your creativity in a way, because you're then in the hands of someone else who has a plan for you and your music, and that's not necessarily always good for a lot of people. And I think it's always, we've all dreamed. I'm sure Alan would say that this as well. We'd both love to be signed by a major label, or whatever. But I think
I want to be rich and famous.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but see, nowadays I feel like like if like you guys have a song that I could hear on the radio, like honestly, and so the great thing about technology nowadays is that you could be a homegrown band and you can make
Yeah.
it and you can become very successful, very wealthy, very popular, and not have to rely on you know, an A&R guy coming and finding you and then saying, hey, we want to sign you and here's the deal. Like, you can do all that stuff your own. Like, Alan, you have yourself as the producer, so you pretty much mix and mastered this entire song as well. Or did you actually have it sent to a studio to be mixed and mastered?
No, yeah, I done it. I done all the mixing and mastering. Yeah, with a
Yeah,
little
it sounds great.
critique from David, which helped me. It's a
But yeah,
positive critique.
and that's kind of my point, is that like you did, you're homegrown, you did it yourself, you know. As long as I think musicians are willing to be more than just musicians, and you have those groups of people who are, you know, willing to go, okay, I'm not just a guitar player, I'm not just a bassist, I'm not just a drummer, I'm not just a vocalist, I want to get in there and I want to learn the behind the scenes stuff, and you put in the work to learn how to mix, master, learn how to market and all that stuff with social media.
I think these days it's so many acts they're like all in one now. Like you have to be the musician, you have to be the manager, you have to be the advertiser, you have to be everything nowadays. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and back then, you know, the record labels, they were the ones that were taking the biggest risk. You know, they were throwing
Yeah.
money at something, and they were making the investment in you.
Mm.
And so again, you know, that's why they always had the most money. You know, so now with the way things are, if you take the time to learn all this stuff, now you're taking the biggest risk. You're putting a lot of time and effort in. But if you're able to catch on and build an audience, build a community, you get to enjoy all the fruits of your labor without having to share it with anybody, which is even better.
Yeah. Now I have no money to share.
Woo!
it would
And
be
that's
re-
kind of the things that, oh, I'm sorry, what was that, David?
I was about to say it would be really cool if there was a new way in which artists. I mean, I'm sure there are ways in which artists are invested in financially, and it would be cool if there could be more of that, because I think obviously the major labels would have, and indie labels as well, would invest financially into you. But it would be cool if there was a new system where you could be invested, you know, people who have disposable incomes, you know, big disposable income, that could sort of like donate and like really help invest in artists like us. That would be an amazing thing, because
I think
the landscape is obviously changing of the industry, and I think things like innovative things like that would be really cool.
the UK itself is probably one of the most underfunded countries for the creative arts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. Like literally, our government, I don't actually think they give two shits about the creative arts at all, and I think they pretend to a little bit, but I don't think they really care.
Mm-hmm.
There's no funding for small unsigned acts really at all. Whereas like we toured with a Canadian band, and the grant they got just to come over and tour with us was ridiculous.
Man,
And
that's
that
crazy.
was just from the Canadian government for like being a band.
And what's funny is I didn't even know countries gave grants for stuff like that. That's how naive I am to that.
Yeah, like
But
you can like there are you know like PRS. I think they do grants for bands.
mhm.
Yeah.
I think you can get grants if you've got to a certain point, because then it's obviously less risky for them. So and they have, you know, they get more of a return from it. But so I've seen things that are like, you know, if you've got over 10,000 fans, or if you're like at that sort of stage where you're looking into getting management and all the sort of things you get on the road, on the way to becoming successful, whatever that means. I think they do offer you grants. There are places that offer you grants when you get to that point. But I'm thinking of like the really early stages where you're actually just self-funding, you know, and buying gear to like make better sounding recordings, and you know, trying to be wise with money you spend on marketing. And like we just said, like it's really helpful if you can kind of just do your own artwork, and you do your own, you know, you get your friend to take a photo of you and then like put that on, you know, on your
I'm a
profiles and all that kind of thing.
I'm a big fan of networking. I've with this podcast being a huge example of that. Like, I've been running the circuit. I've been busy this whole week and last week where I've literally just been trying to be guests on other podcasts and just returning the favor. That's kind of how I was able to get a lot of the guests that I had. And it's just kind of that whole networking, building a community within the podcast realm, and then meeting people who are like-minded. And my solo stuff's like metal music, so I've been looking for metal podcasts to get on and talk to them and kind of reach their audience and their fan base with my music, and hopefully it grabs on. I'm a huge fan of artists that are homegrown, that are self-sufficient. Even if I'm not a fan of their music, like ICP is a good example. Not a huge fan of Insane Clown Posse. But from a business standpoint, those dudes they do everything themselves. Their merch, their marketing, the music, the producing, everything. They have like a giant warehouse and they do everything themselves. Granted, they've gotten to the point where they can do it financially and pull it off really well. But then you have somebody like Tom McDonald, for instance. He's blowing up like crazy right now, and it's just him, his girlfriend, and he has an editor. And they do all the music videos themselves. He gets the CDs printed and he signs them before he sends them out. And he's very like connected to his community, and he's very big on networking. And that's kind of why I'm glad that I waited to do my music and release it when I did, and do the podcast when I did, because I was just waiting for technology to catch up, and now it's finally here, and being able to network is awesome.
It was a lot harder, like being like a small band or whatever, like back in early 2000s, 90s, where you the only market you really had was like your hometown.
Yep.
And like, yeah, you could just give your CDs out to your schoolmates or something, but you couldn't really have that reach that you can now. Like now, yeah, we can, like, we met you over the internet. We just like, you could just get your name out to the whole world. Like I looked on my band's Spotify artist page, and our rap of last year, we got played in like 80 different countries.
Nice.
80 countries. Like, I never even knew there was 80 countries.
Yeah, it's
crazy,
a good
like,
feeling to open that and see that. Like when I see that I'm getting played in France or something, I'm like, whoa! Like I'm just a Texas boy, And to your point, back in the '90s and early 2000s, I was like doing tours in 2005, and being here in Texas. Texas is a huge state.
What was your band called? What was your band called, by the way?
I was in 4 different bands that were doing things from the time of 2005 to 2009. So I was in, my first band was Burning Winter, and then I was in a band called Among War, which I've kept the name, and I'm trying to bring that band back. I was in a band called Ruined Faith, and then the last band that I was in that was actually actively doing stuff was Razor Doves.
Okay.
So I was, but that was the thing. Like with all 4 bands that I was in, the major struggle was exactly what you said. Like you have to kind of be within the city, and very rarely was I in a band that was like even considered regional, because Texas is so big. It takes 8 hours just to drive from San Antonio to El Paso, and you're still in Texas, and you've been driving for 8 hours.
That's literally the length of England.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, see, you could do a whole England tour.
Yes,
and
that's the thing. Like England tours, like between each city, which is like what would be like a state for you, like a city, is probably an hour or 2 really between each city. So you could do a tour. You could tour 10 cities and barely travel. To be honest, it's great.
Yeah, not here, man. San Antonio itself is such a big city. It's a wide open city. Like people who come from like New York and stuff, they come down here with the mentality of like, oh, I'll just walk to my destinations. And we're like, no. You have to take an Uber here in San Antonio, because you may have, your hotel may be in one spot of San Antonio, like downtown, for instance, and you want to go to SeaWorld. That's a good 40-minute drive. So, I mean, everything is spread out. If you hop on our biggest freeway, that's the a loop. I mean, we have 410, which is smaller, and then 1604, which goes on the outskirts of San Antonio. If you drive that and you do the complete circle, it's going to take you about an hour and a half to complete. So our city is just super huge. So yeah, with the way technology is, being able to know people are hearing my stuff outside of Texas is great. And the same thing for you guys. I'm sure being in the UK, knowing that you're able to tap into the US market.
Yeah.
That's where, I mean, I don't want to sound egotistical when I say that, but that's where the pop charts are popping. I'm pretty sure a lot of international acts, they want to break into the US market.
Who's
for sure.
the biggest English act in America right now?
The biggest English actor?
Act,
Oh man,
musician. Sorry.
Music act. That I'm not sure, because I'm not huge into pop.
Okay.
I now my
Who
favorite
have you heard
band.
of? England.
I can't even tell you.
Surely
man,
like
to be
Ed
honest.
Sheeran.
Oh my God! Come on.
Oh, Ed Sheeran's
Ed Sheeran's
from.
massive. Ed Sheeran's
Oh,
massive,
okay.
isn't he?
I know who he is. I actually like his music. I didn't know that he wasn't, or I didn't know that where he was from. So,
Fair enough.
so that's my fault. I didn't know where he was from. My wife listens to his music, and I've heard a few of his tracks. I'm like, hey, I can get down with this. And she's like, yeah, he writes his own music. I'm like, okay, well, I dig it.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, like the only like overseas band that I've been listening to here recently, they're an Italian band, but they're a band. They're more of a heavier band, and they're called Destridge. For me, I'm just obsessed with their drummer. Their drummer's amazing.
Nice.
So, do you guys have any plans for like a tour in the UK at like this time of year, or is like kind of COVID kind of cramped that and made that a little difficult?
Yeah, I'd say COVID's like completely ruined like my plans for touring. Well, my band Bellevue, because we had a tour in February last year, and literally like 2 weeks after it was lockdown. So we just about got
man.
touring, and then haven't played a gig since. Yeah, literally. What's the date today?
Today is the 12th.
12th. So pretty much, yeah, a whole year ago, almost to the date, was my last show.
Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
crazy.
I was having that discussion about like shows in general. When this whole COVID thing goes away, I think shows, I'm gonna make sure that I go to shows. Not one, because I miss them, but two, coming from a musician standpoint and knowing like how rough it is not to be able to play for some time, I know shows are going to be bonkers. Like people, like these musicians and artists, when they finally get to go back on stage, they're gonna realize what they've missed, and they're gonna put on epic shows. And I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this I mean, it's kind of gave birth to a new it's given birth to this new I guess type of music scene where like bands are kind of doing these like streaming concerts. But for me, it's not the same, man. Like I want to feel the drums. I want to feel the bass rumbling through my body, and I want to be able to see the vocalists, in person.
I want to have that like ringing in my ears after I
Yeah.
walk out, and you get home and you're like, what is that noise?
and it's hard to go to sleep because it's just weird.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that.
So
yeah.
are you guys working on an actual album EP right now? Like, do you have anything that's coming up here within this year, or are you just kind of releasing stuff like singles right now? Like what's the plan for 2021?
So I've got a handful of songs that are almost ready to go. So I think I'm gonna do another single. So last year I released 2 EPs with 2 lead singles from each one, and then I did a Christmas EP. And then this year, yeah, I'm hoping to sort of carry that on. I mean, going back to like technology and Spotify and stuff, it's really good to keep the momentum up and keep singles coming out. So they recommend sort of like every 6 to 8 weeks to keep going. So fortunately, obviously, we've got this collab track out this week, so that's helped. But then, yeah, hopefully March, April time, I'll get another EP out as Backroom Scene. And then, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Cool. Alan, any plans for you this 2021?
Yeah, so in terms of solo stuff, I think I'm going to try to I'm going to do a couple songs on my own, with like me singing and stuff. But I want to try to do like work with other artists and get like their vocals or something in, or like get someone to do a guitar solo or something over a section. Just want to like do quite a lot of collaboration with my own stuff, really. Just see where that takes me. Because I also think that's a good way of getting your name out there. Just like getting a feature of
Mm-hmm.
other songs. And in terms of Bellevue, I think we're gonna hopefully release a new song pretty soon. Actually,
So
should be
what was
good.
the difference between Bellevue days and your solo stuff? Is it just you wanted to write stuff that was different from Bellevue days, or is there like a contrast between the two? What was the difference in the solo and the band stuff?
I guess our band, we have a sound, like it's kind of alt rock, indie kind of vibe, and you know I write quite a lot of songs, so they don't all make it, or they're like it might be a bit too different, a bit too risky to release as under Bellevue. So I'm just using it as an outlet to like release some songs which I don't think would quite fit under that band.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely feel that. I have some songs that I'm that aren't like metal. I'm trying to write stuff outside the box. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of having that dilemma of like, how do I go about that? Like, I really didn't want to make another band, but I guess I could because the stuff's not heavy enough to fit on the stuff that I'm doing. So it's kind of the dilemma that I'm having right now as well,
I don't.
as far as
Yeah, like I think you could just potentially release it all under one name, because like with my AHL stuff, I'm not gonna worry about genre at all.
oh, okay.
I'm literally just gonna release whatever style of song. And
So
yes,
that's going into that. What's your and this question's also for you, David, as well. But what is your mindset when it comes to writing songs? For me, I know I pull a lot of personal stuff, but I'm a nerd at heart, so I like Dungeons and Dragons, I like Magic the Gathering, and I like a lot of that folktale type stuff. So I tend to have a little bit of that kind of feed into my songs lyrically. So when you're writing a song, where do you kind of pull your inspiration from?
I think one of the things I really struggle with is writing lyrics with other people because of this reason, because of this is that they come from, like, they have to come from somewhere really authentic, for me
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And I really struggle to, like, I mean, it has happened where I have been able to write really good songs. I mean, this one's a good song. Alan didn't really help with the lyrics on this one. He has, in previous songs, he has said that lyric is shit. Let's let's try again, David. But yeah, it comes from, like, somewhere really authentic. So I don't know. It comes from, like, terrible things like death. People that have died in my life, or just real sadness. Usually, because I think that melancholy definitely is better in lyrics. I can't, like, finding happy things to sing about is, or write good songs about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite difficult. But yeah, I think authenticity for me is, like, the most important thing in lyric writing, and maybe even in the music as well. That I think I try really, really hard to make sure that it doesn't sound like something else. Although
Mm-hmm.
I definitely, in almost all my songs, there might be like a line or a few notes I kind of know
signature.
I've taken from something else, or I've just, like, really loved out something else and just taken, like, this, even like a really small thing like a chord progression, or yeah, maybe like a melody line that is slightly similar to something that I just really love that I've heard somewhere. So there come some of the things that I would put together in it to make a song, I guess.
Well, I really like contrasts when songwriters have that contrast of kind of dark personal lyrics with a beautiful melody. Like it's interesting to hear because you hear this song that sounds beautiful, but then when you dive deeper and you start kind of dissecting the lyrics, you see that there's another layer that's underneath that beautifulness. So for me, it's a nice little yin and yang. You have this beautiful melody with some lyrics that could be potentially a little unsettling. and it kind of has that weird balance. And I've always kind of enjoyed that when I find that in a songwriter or particular
I think a lot.
songs.
I think a lot of people connect with that, and I
Mhm.
think making it as ambiguous as possible means that it does help connect with people because they are able to interpret it the way they want to. Um, like for me, Justin Vernon, Bon Iver, his lyrics, even though like they're so abstract, they definitely enable um, like the listener, I guess, to interpret whatever he's singing about in
I don't
exactly.
even know what he's singing half the time.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's true.
When I
That's
went when
also
I went
true.
to the concert, I was trying to sing along. I was like, actually, I don't know the words to any of these songs. I just know the melody.
Maybe he does that on purpose so he can just make up whatever he wants to sing on
Yeah.
live. But yeah, no, it's
But
a
yeah, that
good.
way in case he drinks a little bit too much before the concert, he just can mumble his way through it.
Yeah.
That's like Dave Matthews. I've been to a few Dave Matthews concerts, and he's just known for that. I think just like bumbling around his lyrics. Yeah.
So Alan, same thing for you. Kind of what's the whole concept and idea behind your process of writing music?
Oh, well, I went through a phase of writing where I couldn't not write unless it was about me or someone I knew. And then after a while, I kind of run out of stories and like ideas about that. So I've kind of recently just write more like not fiction, but I kind of more like it doesn't have to be directly about me. Like there might be like a line or two which I like connect with, which like is about me, but like some songs as a whole don't really have to be anything personal. I just think as long as I'm more of like as long as it sounds cool or sounds good. Like like Noel Gallagher from Oasis, like he Don't Look Back in Anger is literally about nothing. He said that. He said, I don't know what it's about. I wrote it when I was drunk at 3 a.m. in the morning. Just about remembered it the next day. But I don't know. It's just difficult. Like, it's like I'd say I'm a 50-50%. Like half the songs I write, they have personal meaning to me, but the other 50 I just do what sounds good sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
What sounds good to me anyway. It might sound shit to everyone else.
And I think that helps sometimes because like I do that sometimes where I do it more to just to kind of challenge myself, where I'll be like, you know what, I just want to write a punk song, just not because I want to do a whole punk album, but I just want
Yeah.
to see if I can do it. I just want to see if I can pull it off, and it challenges me to kind of dive into other genres.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, I really like that band. I've just got to write one song like them.
That's always fun. Well, that's awesome, man. One of the things I also wanted to talk to you guys about was something that I'm trying to do personally myself, and the reason why I asked about what your plans were for 2021 is as far as like albums and singles are concerned, is I'm kind of going about that route as well. I'm trying to pay attention to how the music industry is kind of evolving with technology, with the new generation coming up. And, we mentioned singles. I feel like singles are a huge thing right now. And I myself, I'm not really focusing on writing an album. I'm trying to get to a point where I'm literally just releasing a song like once or twice a month. It puts a lot of stress on me and a lot of pressure to try to keep that going. But I feel like with the attention span of a lot of people nowadays, I feel like singles is kind of the way to go. So I'm not looking to make an album. I'm looking to just drop singles. And I kind of was curious, now that I actually have other musicians on this podcast, to see kind of where you guys stand with that. Like, do y'all think that would be a good idea? Is it a good transition? Or like are albums kind of out the window? I know there's still a small group of people that like to have physical media, but I feel as a majority, singles is kind of where it's at. Like, what do you feel about all that?
I completely agree. To be honest, I think like even myself, I prefer to hear singles. I don't think I've actually listened to an album in a while, even of my favorite artists. I might skip through an album. I might just like go through it, but oh, that's cool. But I just think singles, yeah, just release a single every month, and then at the end of the year, you got 12 songs, and then you make it as a playlist. That's one album, isn't it?
Exactly what I was thinking. Yep. Yeah, you just make it a playlist.
Yeah, and just
Or
cool.
if
Yeah.
if you draw enough attention, like what I was gonna do is if you draw enough attention and you have enough people who are reaching out, they're like, hey man, I want some physical media. Then you just take all those songs you released and then you can make
Yeah.
an album with it. You know.
I think if you're a massive signed band or signed artist, musician, like I think albums can help. Like Taylor Swift, she dropped like 2 albums in the last 6 months or whatever.
Mhm.
She's done great from it being albums because she didn't release any singles. She just released it as an album, and then people kind of picked what songs they liked from it.
Mhm.
Which I think's also, yeah, I mean, like if you don't release any singles and just drop an album, I guess it could have a interesting impact. But I think you're right with attention spans, like 2 to 3 minute single like songs every month, and I think people will be pretty much happy with that. And some good social media posts. You're laughing.
And I think also it kind of takes away from, me growing up and buying an album. There's only a handful of albums that I can listen to from start to finish where the entire product itself is just superior in my eyes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like a lot of albums, that's what they're doing anyway. They're focusing on singles and then they have a bunch of fillers. And as a fan, I think there's certain people out there that can catch that and they understand that, and it's instead of focusing on writing, I'm going to write 4 or 5 great songs and I'm going to have these fillers just to fill the album. I can actually focus on make every song that I make it great. Because at the end of the day, that's what got me into wanting to create music to begin with, is I wanted to create music that I wanted to hear. I share it just to see if other people like it. But at the end of the day, I'm writing for myself and I write stuff that I want to jam to,
Exactly. You're not going to release an album track as a single, so why release it?
Mm-hmm. David, your opinion?
I agree with you guys, and I think to be successful again, whatever that means in the industry, I think you have to go with the flow and go with the way in which things are going, I guess. And to be honest, it's easier to write a song in 6 weeks than trying to put an album together and make it all fit and make it like, because I think, maybe one day I'd love to put an album together, but there's no way I'd put an album together at this point. I'm like Backroom scene sort of journey, because like I released 2 EPs last year, and there's only about 3 tracks out of those 8 songs. Or 6 songs. I can't even remember how many I've released. 6 songs that are actually even doing all right. So, even 2 EPs was like quite a lot for me really to have released, and I probably didn't really need to do it like that. But it just sort of felt good to do it like that. I think if there's a theme like around some songs, and maybe you've already written 12 songs and you've got a theme around it and they fit well together. Most artists have a really solid first album, so why not release all of them if they're all really strong songs? I think that it's worthwhile you putting all your passion and effort, because at the end of the day, as an artist, if you really care about something, you're going to push it with all your might and get it out there. I think if you're in a place where you've got an album, you've written it, you love it, and you want to share it with the world, then why not release it as an album? But the industry is saying you should release a single every 6 to 8 weeks, and then Spotify's algorithms will then dictate whether or not that it works and you're good enough for the
whether or not you
market.
get picked.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
So all you want is like, will this song be picked?
It's basically
Will
the
this one
start
be
of like
chosen?
a Black Mirror episode.
You did bring up a good point too, as with the mindset that I brought up and the idea that we brought to the table that we all agree on. The downside to it, I would think, is that you will lose out on concept albums.
Yeah.
Concept albums are really cool, and I think that's, for me, that's the only thing that would make sense to drop an album for. Again, me being a huge metal fan, and like into prog rock and stuff, there are a lot of those bands that's what they release, and they release like these concept albums. Mastodon's known for that. That the majority of their albums are like it's a whole concept. So yeah, there you don't really have to focus on singles and fillers. It's everything is there for a reason. So yeah, if we start kind of leaning towards everybody doing singles, that's one of the things that's going to kind of fall that wayside. And I didn't realize that until you brought that up, and that kind of hit me. I was like, oh yeah, I
So
like
now,
concept
now you're
albums.
now you're going to do a concept album instead.
I've always thought about it, and the thing is that with my band, I'm a solo artist, so if I was to ever do a show, I would have to actually hire musicians
Yeah. So what
to
do you
play
do?
the show.
So sorry. So do you record everything yourself then? If it's solo metal, so I assume you still have drums and stuff.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I basically, there are two ways I record. One is just like opening up my Reaper and messing with a riff until I find something that catches, and then just kind of layering my stuff as I go to complete the song. Or I use the program called Guitar Pro. And Guitar Pro allows me to tab everything out. And that's kind of how I keep my structure, so I know where I'm going with the song. It helps me with transitions and stuff. So if I come up with the riff, I'll tab it out on Guitar Pro, and then it allows me to kind of listen to it over and over, and then create the drums to fit it, and the bass lines and all that stuff. And then I find out what my verse riff is, the chorus riff, my bridge, all that stuff. And so once it's all tabbed out, I basically will take that file. I take the drum file, and then I'll put it into my Superior Drummer, and then I tie it to or my Reaper, my DAW, and then I tie it to Superior Drummer. I don't have an acoustic kit. I don't have the means to record an acoustic kit, so I use Superior Drummer for all my drum tracks.
Yeah.
And what I like about that is it allows me to, I've been a drummer in bands, but using Superior Drummer allows me to make a drum part that's in my head versus actually physically trying to play it.
So it's much better. The Superior Drummer's like playing like two toms and a snare at once.
Well, I still try to
And
make it
three
realistic.
cymbals.
Yeah, I still try to make. I don't want to have it to where, like where you hear it and you're like, that's impossible to play. You would need four hands to do that. I still keep it realistic, but as far as like drum fills or like a certain time signature, if I'm playing in an odd time signature and it's like, let's say the snare's playing like a really odd time signature, but I'm keeping like a 4/4 with my right hand on the like a one of the cymbals. I'm just riding one of the cymbals. Physically, trying to get my brain to do that with my hands would be a little more difficult than if I just I know what the time signature is. I know what I'm looking for. I physically can't do it, but I'm gonna put it in that way, and then I'm able to play it through Superior Drummer. It allows me that freedom.
And it sounds pretty much like a drum kit anyway to like a regular listener probably.
Yes. So we did the first 3 tracks that I've released under my band. I've been sitting on them for a couple years now, and I kind of would let I'm that kind of guy that I'll network with anybody. I can talk to anybody. I get along with everybody. And there's been times where I've been at a bar talking to people, and I'll tell them about my band, and they're like, "Oh, where can I find you?" I'm like, "Oh, my music's not released yet, but I have some on me." And I've literally just taken random strangers to my truck and played it in my truck for them. And half of those people that listen to it can't tell that that's a drum program because it's so intricate now. Like I get to pick where I want my overhead mics to be. I can pick the distance of where the mic is on the toms and the snare. I can pick the different kind of mics if I want a dynamic mic or a condenser mic. You can pick the size of the room. Everything's very user friendly, and they've really put a lot of time and effort into these type of programs. And it's the same thing with guitar simulators. Like I don't actually mic up to a real amp. I use Helix Native, which is
Nice.
It has a bunch of different guitar sims on it. So I just hook my guitar up, and I basically make all my distortion and my amp settings and all that stuff is within the computer. I'm playing a real guitar, but all the grittiness that you're hearing is basically coming from the computer. So it's super awesome.
You basically don't have to spend like $500 or pounds on recording one single anymore. You don't have to go to a real studio and pay for an engineer to set up a drum kit for you and record it all, and then you can just do it all for free at home. Which is
Yep.
great, isn't
And
it?
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I want to put this out there for anybody who's in the younger crowd who's listening to this right now. And if you go to a studio, because I didn't know this growing up, and I found out the hard way. When you go to a studio and you pay for studio time, they're charging you to set those drum kits up. So that's eating into your recording
Yeah,
time.
help
So
'em
just
set
know
up.
that. Yeah, don't just sit there and let them do that because they will drag their feet and
Yeah.
you will lose time in
if they're
recording.
like dickhead producers, they'll like take 2 days. Like, right, drum kit set up.
Yep.
Sorry, it took 2 days, but that's £2,000.
Yep. Yeah. And I always try to tell people, there are purists out there that kind of shit on the way that like I'm producing my music. I'm using a Superior Drummer, I'm using Helix Native, I'm using these programs, and I get shit on for it by certain people, which I just laugh because I'm like, kind of what you were saying, you're wasting money going and spending to have these old school engineers do it the old school way, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem with that whatsoever. But at the same time, yes, I've spent a lot of money to build my studio, but I did it one time. The Helix Native isn't cheap. It's like a $400 software. Superior Drummer is also like a $400 software.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
bought them legitly. So I spent $800 on 2 pieces of software, but it's going to help me to make music for years. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
and then, if there's updates, I get the updates and I update the program and I can continue moving forward. So I try not to let a lot of that stuff get to me because it's like, I'm investing in myself
yeah.
and I can
think-
do it whenever I want.
I think all them people who like say, "Oh, it's not real," they're just stuck in the Stone Age and need to get a life.
Yeah. Or they'll use they'll use the excuse of like, well, it's much easier to punch in and punch out, and you don't really have to know how to play your instrument because you can fix it in editing and blah 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 blah. And it's like, I think that just boils down to the musician itself. Like that boils down to their mindset, because when I'm recording, yes, I do a lot of punching in and punch outing when I'm creating the song, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna see a lot of that when I'm trying to create a song. But once I have it done, what I actually will do is I have scratch guitars, scratch bass tracks. So once
Yeah.
the song's complete, I make a whole new track, and I want to play the song flawlessly from start to finish. That's the hardest part of recording, and that's where the frustration comes from in my recording, is that I'm trying to do it 100% from start to finish. And if I'm layering guitars, I don't just simply do a copy and paste. I go back in, create another track, and layer my guitars that way. So if I want to have 4 guitars, to make it sound super thick, every single one of those guitar tracks was recorded separately.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it ultimately boils down to the individual and
Yeah.
what they're wanting. And yes, you're going to have people who are going to cut corners, and that's fine. And then you have other people who are going to be, I don't like to call myself a perfectionist because I literally record stuff and write stuff to sound good to me. So
Yeah,
I could literally play it for someone else and they could dissect it and just completely be like, well, this and this and this and this is wrong. But my mindset's always like, there's no wrong way to do something. If you're creating something out of nothing and you've created it to fit your vision, then
I think that was
you
one
did
of
it
the
right.
first things that was one of the main things that I was so nervous about before I released the first Backroom Scene track. I think before, when I was putting stuff out on SoundCloud, like about 5 years ago, and it was just, I could just work on it. I didn't mix or master it that well. I didn't master it even. I just mixed it and as best I could, and I just chucked it on SoundCloud, and if people listened, they listened. Whereas when I've released a few EPs that I had recorded in studios quite a few years ago, and this was kind of like the first project I've done where I've mixed and attempted to master myself, and I've actually got a friend who has got a home studio and he's been mastering my other tracks for me, so that's been amazing. But yeah, I was so nervous about, where would this, like, will this even stand up against anything? And I think what you just said is so like spot on, that it comes out, what you're creating comes out of nothing, and it is your creation. Like, that is like, and it's a personal thing, but it's something you want to share. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, if it's authentic, which kind of goes back to my whole thing about lyrics and music as well, like if it's really authentic, if it's really you, then that's all that matters. And like, okay, so I also kind of think it'd be cool to touch on what success looks like, because I said like alluded to whatever that means a few times. And I think that I think success is creating something out of nothing and sharing that with the world. And I think that even though obviously we'd love to be like rich and famous and and not have to do a day job or for our day job anyway to be like full-time songwriters and musicians, so many people would dream to like even be able to do what the three of us do. And I think it's a real privilege to even be able to release something on Spotify, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think if you go into it with that mentality, and I'm speaking to myself as much as anyone else, like I'm the first person to put myself down.
Yeah.
And I think trying to reorientate yourself to actually going, no, I can do this. This is my sound. And I love it, and I want to share that with the world. And that makes it original, and it makes it authentic, and hopefully that means that people will connect with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's nice if you just think like if you release a song and like even if 10 people take the time out of their day and just sit there and just listen to you,
Which is
and
about
they
how many
like
people
it.
listen to our song today, really.
Yeah. And like it's just like what you've created and what you're changing the path of someone's life, even if it's for 3 minutes. And like so the fact that they're like, oh, I'm going to do this now, like you're essentially changing their life.
Yeah.
Of what could I mean, if they don't listen to your song, they could cross the road and get run over, but they might just stop there and go, I'm going to play the song.
And potentially saving somebody from getting hit by a car.
Exactly. How many lives have you saved?
See, and that's one of the things that like I had that discussion with my wife too. It's like, everybody, the definition of success, I actually have an episode on Cognitive Discourse. It's a monologue where I talk about, what success means to me and versus what I feel success means to the majority of people. And, within that monologue, I kind of discuss that. I break that down and I point out that, I think it's subjective. At the end of the day, everybody has a set of goals. And as long as you're achieving those goals the way you want to, I think that will keep you from becoming a jaded individual. So many people get caught up in the glitz and the glamour, and they don't take a second to stop and be like, what would really make me happy? Yeah. Like, and I think a lot of people who become jaded, they lack the love of themselves. They don't know who they are.
Yeah. And
it makes it very difficult to kind of think positive and put positivity out there when you don't love yourself and you don't feel confident in yourself. Yes, self-doubt is a thing. You're going to be your own worst critic. But you have to learn how to kind of get over that. You have to not be afraid to fail. The whole point of doing things and learning things on your own and becoming independent and becoming self-sufficient is learning. And you learn the most when you do fail, because you come to a crossroads and you get to learn about yourself. Like, I failed, so now I'm at this crossroad. Do I let this failure destroy me and break me down? Or do I take the other path and say, what can I learn from this failure? Why did I fail? What can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And I have a lot of friends that I've grown up with that the reason why I used the term earlier, I said I don't like to use the term perfectionist, is because I have people that I feel like they use that term as a crutch. They're very talented individuals, but they take so long to release things, and they lack the motivation and passion to continue projects that they've started. They have multiple projects and they don't finish one of them. And it's frustrating because then I'm like, dude, like, you're talented. This stuff should be out there. Why are you not releasing this stuff? And I always get that, well, I'm a perfectionist. And it comes to a point when you say, when does perfection lose its meaning and start becoming ego driven? When is good too good enough? You know what I mean? Who are you trying to please at this point? So yeah, definitely, man. Like, I think once people realize that success is more than just money and fame, and they start to really think about what success means to them, then I think that's when it's a complete mindset change and a complete mindset flip.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Success comes from within.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's when when you tap into that, that's when you get what you were talking about, David, the authenticity. And that's when the genuine side of an individual starts to kind of ooze out. And that's when, what people don't realize, that's where the fame starts to come. Like, there's so many fake, false idols out there, but then there's also an audience out there that gravitates to people who are genuine, people who have actual passion, and they look for that, and they can see through the bullshit, and they're looking for artists that are not only talented, but they are true to themselves. And that's what I'm getting out of you guys, just talking to you, getting out of your music. I mean, it's all there. Like, all the building blocks are there. And so the great thing is, when you do find your audience and you guys start to grow, the great thing about that is the audience that you have will be fans for life, because they're not fake. They're not looking for the next trend. They're liking you for you. And those are the type of fans that I aspire to get. I don't want fake fans. I don't want people who, I'm just the it thing for this 15 minutes, and then once they find something new, they're just going to travel on and find something else. I want dedicated fans. I want to build a community. I want it to feel like a family, you know? As corny as that sounds, I want fans that are completely into what I'm doing, because they know that it comes from a place of passion, and it's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you get to the point where maybe if you are like a big artist and you release something and it's massive, and then what do you do after that? Like, I don't think you can ever reach the success you really want to reach, because you get to some place and you think, well, okay, I need more. It's almost, success is almost like a drug, where you want more of it. Like,
chasing that dragon.
Exactly. You get a big house, and then you think, well, now I want a big house with a swimming pool, or like, it just gets more and more. And to be honest, I don't think anyone's ever truly content. Unless if you truly are like materially success driven, I don't think you will ever truly be happy, because you always just want more and more. Yeah.
For me, like, I think that, like, again, I think that that's also just set with goals that said individual has. Like, for me, I told the wife, if I was to be able to do like a U.S. tour, like one U.S. tour and one international tour, regardless of where it was, if I got to do those two tours, I think I would be okay. Like, I would be like, you know what? I did what I wanted to do. You know, I got into music because I like writing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a famous artist for the fact that I didn't care about the money and fame. I wanted a tour. I wanted to see the world.
So you don't.
And
think,
if I can get paid to do that.
Do you think after you've done them two tours, you'd be like, well, actually, maybe I could do another American tour, but in a bigger venue?
No, because like I said, I think, I mean, I wouldn't put it off the table, but it's not something that I would like actively be like, I gotta do this. If anything, like I said, I would probably still write music, because that's what fills my my addictive hole, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not addicted to drugs. I rarely drink. I quit smoking when my daughter was born, and so like, you know, being on stage is really my only addiction. So I think doing a second tour would purely come out of just the lack of, like, I want to be on stage. Like, I want to be on stage and not be in there, you know, to pet my ego and my narcissism. That's what would drive it. But it wouldn't be like a challenge to be like, well, now let's go bigger. Let's do bigger venues. I mean, I would probably I'd be content with doing, you know, small bars and stuff like that. Again, because for me, my goal is to just travel. And if I can get paid to do that, why not, you know?
Exactly.
But man, like, everybody has their own goals. So like, if people aren't going to agree with me, and that's fine. And that's the great thing about it, is that, you know, go after what you want to go after. And, you know, again, like, don't be afraid to fail. And I think you guys are on the right track. Like I said, you guys are in my daily rotation now. So I'm definitely gonna be looking out for more of your stuff.
Play us on Spotify, because then we earn 0.003.
Oh yeah, I can add y'all to the to like a playlist, right? I'll put y'all on my playlist. I'll make a morning coffee playlist.
Oh, nice.
Have you guys in there?
Good. Send me the link to that. I'll be interested to hear what your other songs are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find stuff
what else
that kind of fits that vibe.
What else do you listen to in the morning?
Oh man, I listened. Like I said, I have a wide range of taste. But if I'm not into the heavy mode, I will listen to stuff like "Soften the Glare." It is a side band from the bassist Ryan Martini from Mudvayne. He has an instrumental band. It's kind of like funky fusion type stuff.
Okay.
I like Marcus Miller. Marcus Miller's a really good lead bass player. That's, again, when I'm in a mellow mood, I'll listen to him. Surprisingly enough, I'm a fan of like artists like Nelly Furtado as well. So like I'll jam out to her occasionally.
Like a bird, I'll
Yeah.
always fly away. I love
And
that
like the
song.
Counting Crows and stuff like that. Like I get down with that stuff. But like on more of the heavier side, I'm more of like a UK based band called Sixth. I got to see them.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they did a tour here in the States, and they toured with Chan, and I was excited because I didn't even know that Chan was going to be there. So, but I'd listen to a lot of crazy heavy stuff: Dillinger Escape Plan, Destridge. I listen to weird stuff like Dog Fashion Disco, Polka Dot Cadaver. Polka Dot Cadaver. When you were speaking about the lyric stuff, they have a song called Chloroform Girl, and that song is a perfect example of a song that has a beautiful melody yet haunting lyrics. So it's basically about a girl that he keeps down in his basement. But the guitar riff
is very haunting.
Yeah.
That'll haunt my dreams tonight.
He sings and it's
Jesus.
creepy because like in the video too, he has like this like demonic smile and he's all happy. But the guitar riff, when you hear the melody, you're just like, oh, that's beautiful sounding. Like it's so happy.
I listened to I listened to Hurt by 9 Inch Nails the other day. I've never actually heard that version. I've only ever heard the Johnny Cash version.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I because
Johnny Cash version's way better, by the way.
It is. I watched the video and I was like, so good. / depressing.
Well, yeah, I'll definitely make a playlist and I'll send it y'all's way and y'all can check it out. But I think we're gonna cut it off at that time. I try to keep my episodes around at the hour mark. It was great having you guys. I had fun. I definitely want to have you guys back. So as y'all start releasing more music and stuff, you guys always have a home here at the Cognitive Discourse. You guys can come back
Cheers.
we
Thanks
can
so much.
definitely. I wanted to get your guys out there. I wanted to kind of talk more music this time around. But next time you guys come, man, this podcast is an open forum. So if there's something you want to vent about, or there's just an opinion you want to share, bring it to the table and we can definitely discuss it. But before we go, I definitely want to give you guys a chance to give out all your socials and stuff. So I'll start with Alan, and then after Alan, David, go ahead and you guys just kind of let everybody know where we can find you and all that fun stuff.
Cool. Well, you can find me on Instagram at A Charles Music or Facebook A Charles X. You can check out my band Bellevue Days as well, and check out mine and Backroom Scene's new single Falling Apart Again. That's all I've got to plug.
Nice. Yeah, and
David?
you can find me on Instagram, Backroom Scene, and on Facebook I've got a website, backroomscene.com, which has all the links on it. I'm on YouTube at the moment, and we're starting to do some covers each week. So if you want to subscribe on YouTube, that'd be great. Just search for Backroom Scene. I don't have a channel yet on there because you have to have like 100 followers, which I don't on there yet. So just be part of the first 100. That'd be amazing. And yeah, so yeah, would love you to listen to our single Falling Apart Again, and all the songs that I've done so far. Yeah, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen.
Awesome. Yeah, man. And again, thanks for coming by. This was awesome, man. I'm glad to finally have some musicians on here, and you guys popped my musician's cherry today. So congrats on that. Y'all are my first.
In a freeway as well. God.
Right? I went
One way
in
of doing
dirty.
it.
Thanks so
I was
much
a
for having us,
dirty
man.
girl. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, you guys always have a home here. You're always welcome back. Just keep in touch with me, and do give this some time to drop. I do drop new episodes every Friday. I have a backlog of stuff, but I'm gonna be pushing you guys kind of up towards the front because y'all are musicians, and I want to help get y'all's music out there. So I'm gonna try to do my part.
Cheers, man.
man.
I really
Appreciate
appreciate
that,
it. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. Cheers.
And to everybody listening, as always, enjoy your Friday. Be safe this weekend, and until next time.